Cables are ubiquitous in our lives. There is a lot of them. The raw materials used are also uneven. So, do you know how cables are made? Now let's take a look at the specific production process of the cable. Common cables typically consist of three parts: a conductive layer, an insulating layer, and a protective layer. So let's start with the conductive layer. The material used for the conductive layer is usually copper or aluminum. Of course, there are also some bizarre materials. To produce cables, the copper rods must first be drawn. At room temperature, the thicker copper rod is run through multiple wire drawing dies using a wire drawing machine. Make the copper junction area of the copper rod smaller. It increases in length. Increased intensity. Wire drawing is the first step in the production of cables in a cable factory. The copper material after drawing will be matched with copper by month. Let the copper wire reduce its strength. Increased toughness. In order to meet the new requirements of cables for wire, it also prevents oxidation of copper wires. To produce cables, the copper rods must first be drawn. At room temperature, the thicker copper rod is running through multiple drawing dies using a wire drawing machine. Make the cross-sectional area of the copper rod smaller. Increase the intensity. Wire drawing is the first step in the production of cables in a cable factory. The copper after drawing will be annealed by month. Let the copper wire reduce its strength. Increase toughness. In order to meet the new requirements of cables for wires, it also prevents oxidation of copper wires. Here a single copper wire is called a ball. In order to improve the flexibility of the cable, easy to lay cable cords. Most of them are twisted together regardless of branch. Strangulation is divided into regular stranding and irregular stranding. Irregular twisting can also be divided into concentric twisting. Twisting and special twisting, some particularly thick cables. In order to save area, reduce cable size. Pressure is applied when springing. Make the wire pen shape, semicircular or tile shape. These are more common in powered cables. Most companies, in order to save costs, most of them add fillers in the protective layer, like adding Himpro or brass. It can not only fill but also play a role in tempo resistance. The agitated conductive core is then extruded by the insulating layer. Extruder is also known as extruder. Machines that require both cable insulation and protective layers. Blend the copper wire and push it in from the extruder on. The other end will come out wrapped in a layer of plastic coat. The cable from the extruder die will enter the cold water tank for rapid cooling and setting. There are many types of plastics used in insulating layers. Common materials include PE, PVC, PA, PP0, PP, FE, PU, etc. According to the requirements of the process and the use environment, the material used for the insulating layer should be changed. Extruding the insulating layer requires attention to the eccentricity of the copper wire. If there is too much eccentricity, it is likely to cause breakdown during use. In addition, attention should also be paid to the smoothness and density of the outer surface of the insulating layer. According to the operating environment of the cable, a variety of single-core or multi-core cables were born to process a single copper wire into a multi-core cable. The single-core copper wire needs to be stranded. Generally, cables with more than 3 cores will be irregularly twisted. Cables below 3 cores are routinely twisted or untwisted. In order to prevent the insulating skin from sticking, the stranded cable will add talc powder, make the cable less susceptible to aging. The stranded cable will first wrap a layer of PET film. Mirror tape is wrapped around the outer layer of the PET film again with flame-retardant tissue paper. It can protect the cable from being damaged by starting. It also ensures that the cable core will not be loose. This process is called wrapping. The cable after wrapping will be taken out with the outer jacket. The outer sheath is used to protect the cable, stop the erosion of environmental factors. The structural parts, the main function is to improve the mechanical strength, moisture resistance, water resistance, chemical resistance, and flame retardancy of the cable. The finished cable also needs to be printed on the outer sheath. National standard, European standard, and American standard. The composition of the ground printing is different. It includes origin labels, functional labels, and length labels. The origin label includes the factory name and trade. The function identification includes the cable model, voltage, number of cores, and cross-section. Models are usually marked with letters. These all have a set of industry standards. The basket after dividing a code can be packaged and sold. Household cables are generally packaged directly in coils. Advanced and larger industrial cables are mostly wrapped in wood.